We try and live the best life we can, or we try and perform the best concert we can. Mishaps happen, and we're not in control of that. And so you have to just allow these mishaps to bring about opportunity for yourself. And I think that's what I did with my injury as well.
I met Rich in 2023 when he came to me for help. Rich is a conductor, a maestro, and he also runs this nonprofit organization called City of Angels Community Choirs.
I've been a musician all my life. I have a musical family, 4 brothers, 4 sisters. My father managed us, and we performed for about 20 years everywhere in Los Angeles, and it was the most fantastic experience to have. So I've never known anything but performing, and now I'm the conductor of the City of Angels Community Choirs, and that includes a master chorale of about 70 singers, adult singers, and about 30 youth singers. I was with my wife, and I was near a window, a car entering the lot, and I just turned to look to see who it could be, and when I made that turn with my head collided with the window, and it shattered.
And out of nowhere, shards of glass just come raining down. And instinctively, he throws up his arms to protect himself. And that's when all that glass, it slices through his hand and severs his tendons. The very hand he needs to conduct, to teach, to create music. The glass basically tears through the tendons on the back of his hand and his fingers. He has surgery on his hand, essentially to help restore movement in his fingers.
It really took over a year to get much use of my hand. And it was very scary because I not only conduct, but I also play piano. And so my hand mattered a lot to me. It was going to impact much of my life.
And then he does months and months of really intense physical therapy just to get that hand functioning again.
And so I think there's at least 2 weeks that passed, and I didn't really want to go beyond a simple insurance claim, and I just wanted to be healed. But I ended up being at a Starbucks and doing some work there, and a gentleman and his friends took a seat near me, and of course they saw my hand, and one conversation led to another, and he heard my story and said, "You should call my wife." And he said, "My wife handles premises liability, among other things." And I called his wife, who ended up being Aslin.
The legal case wasn't easy. The defense fought us every step of the way because we needed to prove that the window didn't just happen to break. We had to show that it was defective, that it was dangerous, and that it should have never posed that kind of danger. So we brought in a glass safety expert, and after thorough testing, he confirmed what we had suspected, that the panel wasn't up to code. It had significant weather damage. It was compromised. And this wasn't just some freak accident. It was preventable.
I spoke with Aslin, and I immediately could feel that she was in charge. She knew what needed to be done. I felt that if she handled it, I could have some peace of mind, which is a necessity when you go through an injury.
We litigated for nearly 2 years. And throughout that time, I got to know Rich on a personal level. I met his wife. I learned about his upbringing. I learned that he once sang opera and that his choir had performed for the Pope.
When you speak to Aslin, you know, she knows exactly what you're talking about, and she becomes part of your life. You know, I mean, I just felt like I was in good hands and that I could share you know, more than just my injury.
And it was really important to learn these things about him because to tell the story of what happened, you have to know the person it happened to. And this wasn't just some hand injury. It was a threat to someone's gift, to someone's purpose. Ultimately, we reached a settlement that honored everything that he went through and gave him the resources he needed to heal. But more importantly, Rich was recovering. By the time the case ended, he was back to doing what he loved.
Mishaps happen. They happen in music, and you make opportunity out of it. And I'm a person of learning. That's important to me, and I teach my daughter that and all my students that. Learn from these experiences. And what I have learned is that there are people in the right places to help us with every part of our lives. Whatever that we are experiencing, there are people and there are right choices to make.
A few months after the case wrapped up, I remember Rich called me and said, "Aslin, I'd love to invite you and your family to our annual Halloween concert." And I was genuinely so touched. And of course I said yes. So we show up to the church, and there, right in the front row, there's 4 seats reserved for us with my last name and these little VIP signs on the chairs. I felt so special. The lights dim, and Rich walks out in his black tux with those long Maestro tails, steps up to the podium, turns to the choir, and then the music starts. And they're singing Phantom of the Opera, and it's just stunning. And it really felt like this full circle moment, right? For Rich, because he had gotten his gift back, but for me too, because I got to see someone who had just been through so much, not just recover, but thrive.
And I knew that, when she arrived to the concert, that she'd see the concert in all its grandeur, which she did. And so she was happy to have been there. And so now she's a subscriber. If you have an injury, the right choice to make is to find someone who sees you as the person you are, and that you can believe in, and that will tell your story.
We often talk about settlements or verdicts changing somebody's life, and they do. But I've also been changed by the people that I get to fight for. People like Rich, who've made such a lasting impact.
I didn't have time to mess with insurance companies or hassle whether they're reliable or not. I just wanted to continue my life, and I didn't want to have to think about anything that was going to hold me back. So I spoke with Aslin, and I immediately could feel that she was in charge. She knew what needed to be done. I felt that if she handled it, I could have some peace of mind, which is a necessity when you go through an injury. Picking Aslin to tell my story was the right choice, and I would highly suggest for anyone who's injured